Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon to get all the latest updates. A very disturbing, unprecedented, and tragic development has taken place at the line of actual control, where India and China have been in a standoff now for many, many days. It was meant to be a de escalation process that had begun, but instead, we have seen the martyrdom of Indian soldiers, we have seen casualties, and we have seen all of this taking place not via bullets, but from what we know, using stones and sticks, a physical, violent scuffle. We're seeing this for the first time in 45 years. Is it time to acknowledge that while Pakistan is a protectorate of China, the real lethal adversary that India faces is China? And there has been an underestimation, a completely different way, sometimes even a kid gloves way of responding to China. Where do we go from here? Remember that this has been a week when we have had multiple fronts aflame. We have had a hot LOC, a line of control. We have lost our men. We have seen tensions with Nepal. And we've had now this happen at the LAC. So when we used to talk about how there could be multiple fronts that our army and our personnel would be battling, that's actually happening today. It's a very, very grim situation. And I have three of the most informed voices to walk us through this. We have a Lieutenant General Satish Dua, Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, and Ambassador KC Singh. I'll start with you, General Bhatia, if I may. Information will keep trickling in. It'll keep updating itself, and we will not speculate on this program on specifics, on casualties. We'll wait for the official records as they keep updating themselves. But this is alarming. This is alarming, and some would say we underestimated, we misread the situation, we believed de-escalation was happening when anything but was happening. And to make matters worse, this has happened on Indian soil. It basically means the Chinese have done this to our soldiers while sitting on our territory.
Barka, thank you. I think what you said is absolutely right. In a way, is unprecedented. It has not happened in 45 years. For 45 years, we had a very fragile peace, though, but it has been peace and tranquility all along. We have sustained equilibrium on the line of actual control. But let me also say that I feel that it is at the local level. What happens is when you are in contact for a prolonged period, a sustained period, like about 5 weeks now, and these are high altitude areas, and you know what high altitude is all about, having been in Kargil, and this is much higher than that. This is about 48, 49 meters. And so the temperatures are low, but the tempers remain high. So I do feel that this is localized, something which has gone out of control. This possibility has been there all along for the last 45 years. This is something which has been always the apprehension that a thing like this, a standoff like this, a face-off like this will spiral into something bigger. So it is not that it has not been thought of, foreseen, planned. All these things, contingents have always been there, existing. Unfortunately, it has happened now. But I also feel that the simultaneous incursions by China all along the LAC have got a bigger strategic signaling rather than just the line of actual control. The issues are much, much bigger, and we should understand that to rightly address them. We should also understand that preparation for defense preparedness leads to peace. I think we have to address these issues. If we do not address these issues, we will find such situations spiraling out of it. I do hope the two commanders who are talking out on the ground, which is a good sign, they will find a solution. But the bottom line is, like you said, territorial integrity of India is non-negotiable. And that is where the PLA, which had come into our territory, needs to go back to the agreed lines, needs to go back to the agreed, based on the agreements. And that is what is required. Status quo ante has to be maintained. India has to stand firm, no blinking, no brinkmanship. And this has happened is unfortunate though, but I think it is localized and we should not see any strategic signaling in this. This has happened at the local level.
So that's, I want to take that to Ambassador KC Singh. Do you, are you as sanguine as General Bhatia is in the circumstances, saying that, look, something horrible has happened, but it is localized. It does not reset the larger India-China strategic equation. Because I sort of feel that there will be a lot of pressure, Casey, now on the government of the kind that it's managed to fend off in the last few weeks. Questions will be asked about misreading the situation. Questions will be asked about whether the government has been transparent enough with people, whether it underestimated the problem. There are voices from the security establishment, in fact, who are being critical at this point. Where do you stand? Do you agree with General Bhatia that this is not a larger resetting?
Look, we have to see it in the larger context. It can't be just seen as summer intrusion by China because it's come to new areas. It's come much deeper. It's come to areas which were never contested. But we also must start from last year, because when we did a constitutional changes in Article 370 was done away with, and also in addition we had a bifurcation of the state. Chinese came up with a very strong statement. They said what India is doing is impinging on our national security. Now those were warning signals. So it was not just that they were making a pro forma statement. And then right from Doklam, I think the Chinese have been sulking. They were waiting for a chance to respond and embarrass India. And don't forget, they have always embarrassed India whenever the Indian prime ministers are riding high. This prime minister has come back with a massive mandate. He's on the global stage. He's receiving the kind of attention that Prime Minister Nehru was receiving. So in 1962, one of the reasons the Chinese acted was to cut Nehru down to size. So there is, in the Chinese mind, there are no two opinions that they have to keep India, constrain India from joining forces with the US, with others, the Quad, other democracies. President Trump has, in addition, said that we are going to have a new B10, in which, of course, he wants Russia, but he doesn't want China in that. A combination of democracies. Now, these are all noted in Beijing. So they feel that, look, here is India chairing WHO now. Also, there is a problem with Nepal. There's a problem with Pakistan. Now, do they at this point press an advantage? And also on top of that, we got the pandemic. Therefore, catching India with a slowing economy, pandemic, you want to show the Indian government, you want to get some strategic concessions. Now, what are those concessions? Are they simply to say, do not align with the Americans, do not align with the others, do not come after us, do not throw out Huawei and so on and so forth? Or is it simply a tactical thing that they don't want infrastructure to be built and they want assurances? Now, from government was caught in a pincer, in a kind of contradiction. They could not give too much information because this is a right-wing nationalist government. If too much is known, they'll come under pressure from their own supporters, not just the opposition. Because jingoism is, you can ride a tiger, but dismounting becomes very difficult. And therefore, if they give out too much information, their own supporters will pile on to them and say, you know, here we are, take on China now. At the same time, how do you calibrate Chinese going back to the old position? Now, Chinese also know that game. So I think probably from the Galwan Valley, they had agreed to go back. But there's certainly, even the government was conceding that the Pangong Lake was always a problem. And the fourth finger is where the Chinese were camping. So the Chinese there were sort of hanging on to that for final negotiation or whatever trade-offs they wanted. In this one, I suspect what might have happened is, otherwise you would not have a commanding officer with his troops. Now, obviously, we were there in sufficient numbers. We were not patrolling. Commanding officers don't go out on patrols with 10 or 20 men. They were probably taking over positions held by China and therefore expecting the Chinese to be moving back. So I would go along with General Bhatia. It's possible there was a misunderstanding at the local level where the Chinese PLA troops there have not been told the right sequencing at the right time. And we were pressing at that particular point that we wanted to take over. Or have the Chinese done all the withdrawal they wanted? And they are not willing to go back any further. We don't know. So we need clarity on that.
That is, in fact, the question. Let me take that to General Dua. First, I mean, salutations to our troops, and the CO leading from the front. That is the tradition of the Indian Army. So I think we have to pause to acknowledge that. The loss of a commanding officer has a ripple effect down the Pulton for the men. What would have happened? What are the scenarios in which a CO would be out there right in the line of fire, General
Dua? I think, Barkha, first of all, let me just rephrase your question. You said, what would have happened? Why would a CO be there out in the front? I think the commanding officer in Indian Army would be there in any situation right ahead. I mean, whether it's a sports field or anything, I mean, as a commanding officer leads by personal example. And this is very serious business. So like Ambassador Casey said towards the end, it obviously a very serious tactical situation must have developed. And the way General Bhatia explained, because the forces have been there together in that kind of a very close face-off with tempers running high, like he said, it's not a very healthy situation to be in at those altitudes. So at that situation, when commanding officers always lead, and that's been the ethos of Indian Army. Well, here is another commanding officer who led. What exactly happened? I think best homage to them will be by not speculating beyond what we know. So we, like you said, I'll leave that at that. But the fact of the matter is that this is a situation which apparently went out of hand somewhere, that it led to such casualties. Like General Bhatia said, is it a larger strategic signaling for all the other things that Ambassador Casey said, the political timing of it, we should have seen it at, after 370 and the other issues, fine. But is this situation really, I go with General Bhatia to say that this is actually a local situation that happened at Galwan, at this place. It is not necessarily connected as a larger strategic signaling. I mean, these casualties should not be seen as that. And that's the larger point I wish to make, that it's very easy for General Bhatia and me to start talking a warmongering thing, we must do this and we must go ahead and do it the other way. It is possible. Like General Bhatia said, there are plans, there are contingency plans as to what is to be done in a situation like this. However, should we straightway set about retaliating, or the level, the major level talks that are actually on while this happened, should we give that a chance? Let's hope that things don't flare up. I mean, as mature nations, we need to still put a lid on it.
Okay. General Bhatia, that's the question now. You see, even if all three of you seem to agree that this could be tactical and not strategic, that we're dealing with actually a tactical challenge and not a strategic shift, and that is possible, and we all know tactics is short-term, strategy is long-term. There is the question of the territorial integrity of India, right? And what we cannot compromise on is that. And we are in the, in the summer when we are reminded of Kargil, the anniversary is upon us. We know that our men will do what they have to reclaim our territory. Now, where do we go from here on that front? Are you as optimistic that that will find a resolution? If you believe this was local, what about the larger standoff?
Baraka, you're right. This sort of incursions or transgressions that happen now are totally different from what happened in Dolam, what happened in Chumar in 2014, and what happened in Depsang in 2013. We should not compare that. The context is totally different. These are simultaneous. These are in much more in scope, in frequency, intensity, in depth, and we have to see what is happening out there. It is not just, Depsang was one-off. They came in and they went back. Chumar was when the president was visiting. Dolam was they're constructing the road. So we stood firm. But Indian Army stance on the LAC is very clear, categorical. It is no blinking, no brinkmanship. So that is what we've been doing. We're not blinking out there. And, it is not the military's call to do what it has to do. We are subservient to the nation. And the nation has to decide. There is a 14 November 1962 Parliament resolution that we have to get back all our areas where Parliament resolution stands. How, when, where, that is the government decision. The armed forces will obey what the government has to say. Having said that, this particular transgression and incursion which is happening, I think these are strategic signaling. This is part of China's tried and tested method of coercion. They want to tell us something, and they're doing that. But I do hope that given our peace and tranquility has prevailed, equilibrium which has prevailed, we will, and diplomatic talks are on, the military level talks are on. So these are the positives, and we will find a solution, de-escalate that, and let us look at the larger context. What is India looking at? A mutually and equitable resolution of the boundary question. So if we are looking at that, and that is where we got to create strengths. China respects strength. We have to create relative strength. We cannot compete with China. China's competition national power much more than ours. Let's face facts. But defense preparedness leads to peace. That is something which we are not understanding. We are, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to take your point to Ambassador Casey Singh because you said defense preparedness leads to peace. But in this case, Ambassador Casey Singh, it could be that our building of infrastructure is what triggered the Chinese. It could be that they were looking for a deflection from the coronavirus backlash. It could be that they see India as a competitor. They wanted to cut the rise of Modi down in their attempted way. You listed some of these reasons. But we have to juxtapose what's happening with China, also with what's happening with Nepal, also with the fact that we have a hot LOC, also with the fact that we're a country battling a pandemic and the worst is not behind us yet. So if you put all of this together, because there's a domestic medical emergency, a public health emergency, and there is a hot LOC, a hot LSC, and unprecedented tension with Nepal. So we've got to join all the dots here and say, okay, where do we go from here?
Well, firstly, we have to de-escalate with Nepal. There are no two ways about it, because the links, we have an open border, there's links of population, what they call a beti or iska sawal, jo, the defense minister said himself. Therefore, Nepal is a different kettle of fish. But at the same time, do remember that the Nepalese problem and the Chinese problem are emanating from the same thing, the new maps you issue. Now, it didn't mean the maps were new, but they kind of underscored the fact that these were the boundaries. And I think both China and Nepal seem to have taken umbrage at that. Of course, Pakistan took umbrage, which we ignored because we said you are doing the same thing in POK and areas that you are holding. And you have made umpteen changes in Pakistan internally, which we have objected to, but you don't care. But all three coming at the same time, I don't think there's concern. But there is a fact that Prime Minister Oli was under tremendous pressure. In fact, the demonstrations have revived in Nepal against his government, charges of corruption, and all those charges involve China. The Chinese ambassador a few weeks back was scurrying about in Kathmandu, trying to keep the coalition together. So the Chinese, that's something the Indian ambassadors used to do for decades. That is the kind of influence that the Indian ambassadors had. So make no mistake at all. The Chinese have, a deeper footprint in Nepal. The Nepalese have drawn succor and support from that, and therefore have taken this aggressive position. Much of it now, Oli's ended up with the entire parliament supporting him. Whereas 4 weeks ago, there was talk of a rebellion against Oli's government. His two ordinances were rejected by the rest of the parties. So each one is playing domestic politics, but you also take the current starting point in Nepal. It started with the inauguration of the new road to Lippo Lake, which the Raksha Mantri kicked off, because that goes on to Mansarovar, which was playing a game to a certain majoritarian politics in India. So, each one has got domestic politics. You got Xi with his Hong Kong, you got Xi with his, South China Sea. Xi feels that, he's been able to overcome the pandemic. And therefore, this is a time to press all his strategic advantages.
But I want to come back to the immediate situation we're dealing with, General Dua. And you're right that although all kinds of, very disturbing accounts are doing the rounds, we must not at this moment legitimize WhatsApp forwards. We must be patient and await clarity. But General Dua, there will be also some pushback against the government, against the military, to be more open right now about what's actually happening, because the statement only tells us about a violent face-off. It tells us this happened during a process of de-escalation. And it tells us that that 3 soldiers, and we now know one of them was the CO, are included in those. It's a very, if you just read it carefully, it points to the fact that we do not yet know the whole story, that there could be more bad news ahead. There could be more casualties ahead. And while I don't want to speculate on either the number or the nature of those, what we do know is that there was a time we used to say about China, ki goli nahi chali. Goli to sir is baar bhi nahi chali. We know that it's, iron rods, bamboo, stones, all of that has been used. How do we get out of this? Even if it's a localized situation, what should India be doing right now, General Dua?
Barkha, the beginning of your question, you spoke about an information void or a government statement not coming out. So, situation to be treated the way it is. There is some talks are already on, that process is on. I'm sure because of these casualties and what we are hearing, it has also casualties on the Chinese side. the levels will be up, enhanced to higher levels. The diplomacy will plug in at a higher level also. But all that apart, I think all our agencies that work there, because there are several agencies, especially army and the whole nation, all parties, I think we need to pull together, because it is a serious situation. I mean, no matter if it is a tactical situation at one place, it is a very serious situation. It can just well spiral out of control. Even if the other things that you painted, the other three countries, and we are having issues at the same time, even if they are not coordinated. But the fact is that it is all happening at the same time, simultaneously, when we're having a medical situation like the rest of the world everywhere. So I think we all need to be more matured and together on the whole situation. Thank you.
Okay, General Bhatia, last word from you, and then we'll take last word from Ambassador KC Singh. How do we, there is, like General Dua said, even if it's short term, even if it's tactical, it's very alarming right now. There is also public pressure. There will be larger policies of economic, do you trade with China? We almost signed an RCEP agreement. Then there was political pushback against that. There are already calls for actors and public figures to stop endorsing Chinese goods. So even if all you military experts see it as localized, the country, public opinion is, and that's a big factor in what any government can do. So how do we immediately handle the ground situation?
You see, the incident is not incident is localized, but the incursions are not localized. They're all across the border. We have to work towards peace and tranquility. We have to look at a post-COVID world order where India has to lead and lead from the front. We have to manage our COVID situation. We have to manage our adverse relationship with the West, now Nepal. So this has to manage well. With China, we have to start from a position of greater strength. So we have to create the greater strength, and we have to synergize all our comprehensive national power. We cannot compete with them, but we have a just cause. So that is a very great thing with us. We have a moral right, and we have to stand for that moral right and just cause and face China at every level, whether it's economic, whether diplomatic, whether it's political, whether it's even technological for that matter. But we have to create capabilities for the long term. And for the short term, we have to ensure peace, and that
Okay, Casey, I'll let you wrap this up for us. I've been asking both General Dua and General Bhatia that whether short term, whether tactical or strategic, there is an immediate situation. There is an immediate crisis, right? And that immediate crisis has to be contained. What do you see India doing as next steps?
One is 7 days from now, there's a meeting of RIC, Russia, India, and China. Normally with the Chinese, these landmarks become very important because the pressure point can be if India calls it off. External Affairs Minister says, no, I will not, participate in the RIC. Yeah. Because in any case, the Russians, foreign ministers had a word with the Russian foreign minister. So if the Russians are going to be neutral or not pressing the Chinese, it's a pointless exercise. So the Russians, I'm sure, will jump in because they don't want the RIC meeting to be sabotaged. Mm-hmm. Last time also, if you remember, it was the BRICS meeting which broke the Doklam standoff, because the Chinese didn't want the BRICS summit to be called off. Now that is one. The second one is, we'll know in the next day or so whether it's local, because there are two different things, two things one can pick up from the Chinese side. One is a statement by the editor-in-chief of Global Times, as you know, which is the English mouthpiece of the Chinese regime, who has conceded that Chinese soldiers have died. Yes. But he has also threatened India, as is his wont. Yes. The second one is from the Chinese Foreign Ministry, which is saying that the Indians crossed the LAC. Now, that is crucial, because if the point at which the fight took place is in Galwan Valley, and Chinese claim we crossed the LAC, that means they have relocated the LAC. Now, that is something. Are they defending the LAC? That's why they're not willing to go back further.
Ambassador KC Singh, this is not localized. If they are trying to shift the accepted LAC, then contrary to what General Dua and General Bhatia are saying, this is not localized.
Correct. Which is what we'll know in the next day or so. Yeah. Which means either they have to go back and vacate Galwan Valley and only then negotiate the Pangong Lake fourth finger, or they're going to keep both the fronts open. That means concede half in the Galwan Valley, keep it there and keep the issue open, and therefore keep a pressure on India.
Yeah. So I think that's a very sobering thought to leave us with. We leave it there, gentlemen. I think we're going to need some more time to get clarity actually on what's happening, a little more information from the government, from the military. But we also have to give the military in particular space to handle what's happening on the ground. And first and foremost, secure the safety of our troops on the ground. That is more critical than anything else right now. General Dua, General Bhatia, and Ambassador K.C. Singh, thank you so much for joining us on this special broadcast. Thank you.